my standard is you should be able to carry your body weight. So between two hands, if you're a 200-pound person, you should be able to carry two 100-pound dumbbells for 100 feet. Hello and welcome to the Weaponized Body Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Dr. Ryan Hewitt, and I'm here to talk to you about the latest and greatest in metabolic movement and mindset health. And today I'm talking about a topic that I'm very passionate about, one that I've been thinking about for a long time, and putting together my own weaponized body fitness standards for quite some time. And I'm going to be talking today about 12 fitness standards after 40 for men. This is something that, like, for me, I've used as sort of my own standard over the years. And also, this is something like I've looked at other fitness companies who have their own sort of combines or their own, standards of fitness. And, these are 12 that I have handpicked that I feel make you the most well-rounded, weaponized dad, man or whatnot after the age of 40. Now, if you're below 40 years old, you better be damn sure you're able to do these things. So I chose after 40 because, of course, I'm in my 40s, but also it seems to me that a lot of men after 40, they start saying bullshit like this. They're saying like, oh, well, old age. I'm just getting old, don't get old. My aches and pains is just going to be because of old age, and I think this is such a bullshit excuse. Here's the truth. If you actually looked at that man's practices, you'll see that he's just lowered his standards. He's gotten lazy and he's not putting in the work. That's the simple truth of most of what people are blaming on old age. Now, of course, the rigors of age are real. So there are some things that become more challenging, more difficult. You do have some age-related decline, but by the time you're 40 years old, listen, it's like most people treat themselves like they're like 1 foot in the grave. It's fucking pathetic. So I've created these 12 fitness standards, hopefully for some of you as a wake-up call of what is possible, what should be possible, what you need to be in order to be functional, healthy. And listen, like, your fitness that you have right now in your 40s is going to speak to how you're going to look, feel, and perform in your 60s. And you know what I'm talking about. There are literally people in their 60s in nursing homes. And there are 60-year-olds that are doing Ironman triathlons. Like, who do you want to be? Do you want to be someone who's going to be a grandfather who is going to be able to take his grandchildren and do shit with them, like be physically active with them? Or are you going to be, somebody we're going to go visit grandpa and just like be around him and not really interact with him? Like, for me, like, I have no interest in that. I want to see Lily through her, like, as many years as possible. And God willing, maybe she has a family and grandkids. And listen, like, I'm an old dad, like my daughter's 4 and I'm 46. So I better be damn sure I'm taking care of myself and I'm physically fit, active, and weaponized in my later years. So listen, I'm going to say this. It's not about chasing a 6-pack or PRs as far as these standards, right? This is about being resilient. It's about being powerful. It's about being independent many years from now. And that's the goal. Freedom is sovereignty. It's being able to, like, look after yourself and, not be a fall risk, not be somebody who is like, taking precautions at every turn and feel like they have to put on a fucking helmet and hockey equipment every day because, they're constantly falling and injuring themselves and going to doctor's appointments because they're so sick. Like, dominate this life and live the life of your dreams, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down some of the science-backed fitness standards. All right. Some of these are like first world stuff that I have, like, really dug into and discovered for myself. Some of this stuff is like backed by science specifically. And then also, like, observational and having other men, that I've coached and whatnot. So, being hard to kill well into your decades, you need to have standards. So when I'm going to talk about each category, we're going to talk about like the standard, which is like minimum level to be protective of your health and function and longevity. And we're going to talk about weaponized. Okay. So there's like two tiers. And, for me, I strive to be in this weaponized category, which is a little above and beyond. It's not necessarily something you absolutely have to be at in order to enjoy your life and, be dangerous and be physically active and whatnot. But for me, I want, I don't want average. So I want to be like somebody that is like, wow, look at the fitness that old dude has. So, all right, without further ado, let's get into my 12 weaponized fitness standards after 40 for men. By the way, we're going to get into doing women, I believe, next week. So get ready for that. I have far less experience in that category being a man, though. So, but let's talk about men specifically over 40. Um, and even if you're under 40 and you're not meeting the standard, like huge wake up call. So it's not that this podcast is only for men over 40. Like, listen up. If you're in your 20s or 30s and you're not able to hit any of these standards or some of these standards, like it's time to step it up. Okay. So number one is a pull up test. Okay. All of you out there listening, you know exactly what I'm talking about. A pull up. So a pull up, overhand grip, okay, shoulder width, and we're talking full range of motion. We're not talking these like half range bullshit pull ups. We're talking full extension and chin over the bar. Okay, no kipping. We're strict pull ups. Here's the standard 5. Okay, if you can't pull your body weight 5 times over a bar, okay, that's a problem. You have global upper body and core dysfunction. Okay, weaponized standard is 10 strict pull-ups or more. Um, so this is something it's not unreasonable. Okay, if you lack even one pull-up, all right, it's time to pull up your big boy pants and start working on that. And for some people, this is a very tough standard uh, because if you're overweight, it's going to make it much, much harder. Okay. If you have a high body weight, I mean, listen, there's these big muscular guys, man, they're banging out 10 plus pull-ups and they're like, 250. I've seen it. So, but there's guys that are like 200 pounds that can't even like pull themselves an inch off the floor. So for some of you, it's a matter of lowering your body weight, working on your upper body strength, calisthenic strength. But this is like, think about how functional being able to do a pull up is. It is an absolute standard. It should be a standard. You need adequate grip strength. You need scap stability. You need core stability, strength, and you need that like, big engine pull from your lats, etc. So it's a very good test of relative strength. Okay. It's one of the few compound movements that truly reflect like neuromuscular integrity. Okay. That's why there's so few people that can actually even do a pull up. Okay. But my standard is not 1, it's 5. Okay. So there's all kinds of studies out there. If you can do 5 pull ups, you're pretty much guaranteed not to get any sort of cardiovascular type of event before the age of 60. You're definitely still in the fight if you're able to do 5 strict pull-ups minimum. Okay. Weaponized would be 10 plus. Number 2 is a push-up test. Here's the standard. All of you know what push-ups are. Now, when I'm saying push-up, I'm saying like hands, shoulder width distance. Okay. Right? You don't want to be going this way outside, shortening your range of motion. We're talking like thumbs right at kind of nipple height there, hands down beside your shoulders. And we're doing full extension at the top, our elbows locked out and chest to deck. All right. We're talking full push ups, none of these like half or quarter rep bullshit push ups. This is a test of upper body strength once again, pressing this time, not pulling. So they're not just about like chest and arms, but also like when you're able to do enough of these, it becomes a metabolic type of test, a core test, just overall work capacity. So, I mean, there's a study in 2019 done by JAMA that found that men who could do over 40 push-ups had a 96% reduced risk of cardio events. So listen, here my standard is 20 full range push-ups. Okay, that's a big ask for some of you. But you absolutely should be able to do 20 strict push-ups. Weaponized would be 30 plus push-ups, preferably 40. I thought about putting 40 on here for weaponized, but if you're doing 30 plus push-ups, you're doing pretty good. Okay. And that means, full extension, chest to deck. All right. Without breaking, without putting your knees to the floor or resting on the floor. All right. Simple. We got pull up test. We got push up test. All right. Now we're getting into kind of big boy stuff. A trap bar deadlift. Okay. For those of you who don't know what a trap bar is, a trap bar is one that you're like standing inside of. Okay. It looks like a hexagon. It's definitely more, it puts your body in a better position than, say, a barbell. Okay. Barbell, you're a little more bent over, requires a little bit more stability and lower back integrity. When you're in a trap bar, you can be more upright. It's a little safer for the spine. So, trap bar deadlifts. All right. We're talking, good form, obviously, good position, feet flat on the floor, gripping the barbell and standing up all the way, full extension, which is 1 rep. Okay, we're doing a 5 rep test. Okay, you should be able to do 5 reps at 1.5 times your body weight. All right. So if you're, let's say, a 200-pound individual, okay, that's a 300-pound deadlift 5 times with a trap bar. All right, weaponized standard would be double body weight. So if you're a 200-pound guy, we're talking 400 pounds 5 times. Okay, this lift shows how much horsepower you can generate. Okay, through your hips, your posterior chain, which is like your hamstrings and glutes. Obviously, you need very good core stability. And listen, like bone density and fall risk and whatnot, you're pretty much at zero if you're able to do at least your body weight 5 times, but 1.5 times your body weight. I mean, it's predictive of strength, mobility, bone density, fall risk, all that shit, particularly as you get older. So you want to stay out of a nursing home. This is a standard you want to hit. Okay, 1.5 times your body weight with a trap bar deadlift for 5 reps, and a weaponized standard would be double body weight for 5 reps. All right, now a back squat. So I wasn't sure I was going to put this one in here, but I love back squats. So this was definitely going to be in here. I was thinking, well, maybe we make it because not everybody has the mobility, the strength, the coordination, the balance, the function, the low back health and whatnot to do back squats with a barbell. So listen, we could substitute this for, let's say, a hack squat and or a leg press, but I'm going to, because I want you to have the mobility, the strength, the coordination, the function, we're going to keep it a back squat. All right. So now we're talking once again, a 5 rep standard. All right. So a 5 rep standard back squat, and we're talking bar racked on your traps or your shoulders, right? You're standing at you're standing basically up, right? And you're going full depth. Okay, that means you're squatting all the way down until you hit parallel or below. Okay, and you're standing all the way up with that rep, and you're doing that 5 times. Standard would be 1.25 times body weight. So again, a 200-pound individual, we're talking 245, I believe. Ooh, how's my math? I don't have my phone here, but oh yes, I do. I should probably not say anything that's inaccurate, right? So 1.25 times 200-pound dude is 250. I'm sorry. Wow, 225. So a 250, yeah, of course, a quarter of 200 is 50. So 250-pound back squat 5 times. Okay. That's a pretty strong ask. Okay. 1.25 body weight for 5 reps. Weaponized would be 1.5 times your body weight. So a 200-pound person, we're talking 300 pounds doing that 5 times. Okay, these are not extraordinary feats of strength, but man, if you're able to do that, you're a beast. Okay, you're doing pretty freaking good. So there's plenty of studies out there too. You want to look at research from like the gerontology journals, Journal of American Medical Association shows that like lower body strength is tied to reduced risk falls, longevity. It's like, if you can back squat 1.25 times your body weight even once, okay, never mind 5 times, like you're going to be able to have incredible lower body strength and function to climb stairs, carry your uh, grandchildren, take those trips to Europe and not need friggin' wheelchairs and people to look after you. I know that's not super motivating, but man, at this point here, like having a nice set of quads, hams, and glutes, like never skip leg day. I did a podcast on this, is why there isn't a single man who should be ever skipping leg day. There's so many benefits to making sure you have lower body strength as well as core strength. So having a solid back squat, I believe, is a very functional lift. It's a very, overall global compound movement that most men should be able to accomplish and have some pretty good numbers in that category. So for a back squat, once again, the standard would be 1.25 times your body weight 5 times, and weaponized standard would be 1.5 times body weight for 5 reps. Okay, now let's move on to a different discussion. So we talked to those are more like, I guess, core and like overall global strength tests, the first 4 that I talked about. Let's get into more of a VO2 max discussion. So a 1-mile run. A lot of you are shuddering at this point thinking about an all-out 1-mile run. My standards are pretty friggin' easy though. Like, the studies show, like, if you're running under a 10-minute mile. So if you can do a mile in under 10 minutes, you got a pretty decent VO2 max, like 45 or more. And if you listen to any longevity expert, if you read any research, like, VO2 max is one of the top dogs when it comes to predictor of all-cause mortality. We're talking everything. Okay. It's possibly one of the most important cardiovascular metric that most people have no idea where they stand. It's the maximum amount of oxygen your body can use during an intense activity. You see those tests where guys are on a treadmill or a bike. They got the masks on. Okay, it's measuring the amount of oxygen your body is, consuming during that effort as they ramp up the test. I did one a couple years ago, which was pretty fun. Um, I mean, we could list off a ton of studies. There's one from 2018 from the Cleveland Clinic that found the higher the VO2 max was directly associated with longer lifespan. I mean, it's like a one-to-one correlation. Um, even beating out smoking. Like, if you're a non-smoker, clearly you're going to live longer. But if your VO2 max is high, it's an even stronger predictor of longevity. So, like, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, all-cause mortality lowers when you have a nice VO2 max. Over 45, right? We're talking more professional athletes, like 60 plus. So you want to be in that 45 or more range. If you can run a mile in under 10 minutes, you're going to have a pretty decent VO2 max. My weaponized standard would be under 7 minutes. All right. So if you're between 7 to 10 minutes, you're in the standard. Okay. If you're sub 7 minute, you're a weaponized dad. Let's go. So the faster and more efficient you can run a mile, the longer and better you'll live, period. That's why this is like a must. You could pick any distance. You could pick 800 meters. You could pick 1600 meters, such as I did here. They're different aerobic tests though, but like a 1-mile run is just enough in order for it to be long enough to be very difficult and test like your aerobic capacity. So a little bit of all those energy systems kind of blend. Like a longer effort, slower effort, such as like a zone 2 pace or whatnot, like that's important too. But you can really, tease out what your aerobic capacity is by doing a 1-mile effort. So sometimes you'll hear about 1.5-mile efforts. Those are a little bit more gnarly, but we're going to do a 1-mile effort. Okay. 10 minutes is the standard, sub 10, and a weaponized standard would be sub 7. Okay. Now we're going to get into more of a mobility test here. So yes, I included a mobility test in my 12 fitness standards. So you may have seen videos on this. You may have seen, people talking about this. There's studies that show if you can do a sit to stand in one fluid motion, you're pretty much like, it's impossible for you to like break a hip and, be a fall risk. So what a sit to stand test is you cross your legs and you sit to the floor. Okay. And your ability to get up, okay, out of that sort of cross-legged stance off the floor, if you're able to press yourself up and stand straight up, that's a pass. That's the standard. That's the standard and the weaponized standard. Okay, there is no gradient here. There's a Brazilian study published in the European Journal Preventive Cardiology that showed people who could sit to stand without support, okay, without pressing themselves off the floor all awkwardly and whatnot, they had a significant lower all-cause mortality. So again, like literally everything that could possibly kill you, You're much, much, much harder to kill if you can pass this mobility test. You need clearly like coordination, hip mobility, strength, core control. There's a lot of things at play here with this sit to stand test. But if you can't get off the floor unassisted, like you're in big trouble. Independence is like a total fantasy at that point. So this is a good standard to shoot for. Okay, number 7. Uh, I picked an overhead squat test. I hummed and hawed about this one for a while. But the reason I picked an overhead squat test is because this reveals literally every weak point in your kinetic chain if you're unable to perform it. Your ankle mobility, your thoracic extension, your scap stability, your core control. If you're unable to even like hold a dowel overhead, like that's a big, big problem. You've got a lot of issues in your kinetic chain, which a lot of people do that spend ample time at the desk and have for years and decades, and that haven't been working on their mobility. So the overhead squat isn't about raw power here. Okay. What we're talking about is like an integrity audit. I actually do these in a lot of cases in my functional movement tests in my office. There's a study from the Journal of Strength and Conditioning that highlighted the use of this in the screening for injury risk in athletes, especially. Uh, if you can own this movement under load, like your system's pretty lethal. That's why I included it in this test. The standard is pretty easy. I only made the standard 5 reps. Okay, so you got the barbell overhead. Your 45-pound barbell. Okay, for women it's going to be 35. For men it's going to be 45. You can hold that barbell overhead and get yourself into a full squat and stand back up 5 times. You pass the standard. Uh, now, is it going to look pretty for everybody? No. If you're able to do that 5 times, okay, you've met the standard. However, meeting the weaponized standard is much harder. I stepped up this gradient quite a bit for the weaponized standard. It's a 5 reps with your body weight overhead. So for a 200-pound individual, that would be, getting 200 pounds overhead, right, in a, shoulder to snatch grip there, and getting into a full squat to the floor, standing all the way up. So we're talking 5 reps at body weight, which is pretty friggin' hard. This is one of the hardest standards on my 12 fitness tests, simply because you cannot do 5 body weight overhead squats if you have trash mobility, neuromuscular coordination, poor thoracic extension, shitty ankle mobility. Like you're going to fall apart and fail and drop the bar. Okay. The only way you're going to be able to perform that is if you have really nice balance, coordination, strength, etc. All right. So you can pass the standard pretty easily. You kind of muscle through it. If 45 pounds is pretty light for you, it doesn't have to look super pretty. Ideally, you got feet shoulder width or further apart. You're getting ass to grass in a full squat with that barbell, preferably overhead, aligned over your ankles and ears. A lot of people's chests will kind of cave forward and whatnot, and that's fine. You can have your head slightly forward, but I'm saying barbell over shoulder over ankle, for 5 reps. And again, like 5 reps with the barbell. Okay. The standard I have here is like half your body weight. Okay. So if you're a 200-pound person, if you're going to get like 95 pounds on the bar or whatnot, 100 pounds on the bar, and you can do that for 5 reps, you met the standard. For most people, you're going to be anywhere between like the barbell to 95 pounds. And then again, the weaponized standard would be 5 reps with your body weight. Okay. Number 8, we have to be testing also your explosiveness. One of the things you'll hear longevity experts talk about is one of the things that makes us a fall risk later in life is, and you'll see this evidence of this, guys in their 30s and 40s already, is they'll go play like touch football or volleyball, or they'll be all of a sudden like in an activity that requires some explosiveness and sprinting all of a sudden, in which they never practice or do, and they rep a hamstring, pull a calf, tear an Achilles. Your ability to do a broad jump is a strong indicator of your type 2 fiber, which are called, your muscle fibers are called type 2 fiber integrity. Those are your like fast twitch, muscles. And by the way, these are the ones that wake up and keep you from rolling your ankle when you step off a curb suddenly. You've ever stepped off a step and it was a little bit further than you thought? It's your ability, your body's, your nervous system's ability to like fire those type 2 fibers in time so you don't end up face planting and smashing your face on the floor. So, like, explosive power is one of the first traits to decline with age. That's why you'll see a lot of guys like in their older age, they'll still power lift, they'll still do distance running, but very few aged athletes are doing things like sprinting, doing things like Olympic lifting, like explosive types of activities, because it's one of the first thing that starts to decline, especially if you're not using it. So before strength, endurance, or flexibility, like there's plenty of research that shows like the jump distance is connected with lower limb power, which is linked to mobility and athletic potential. So we want to keep ourselves athletic and weaponized, right? So more bulletproof. So if you can launch yourself forward, your height, you've met the standard. Okay, so if you're a 6 foot dude um, who doesn't want to lose their edge, you better be able to broad jump 6 feet. All right. So that's the standard. Now, if you want to be weaponized, okay, I want you to be able to jump 6 feet plus 12 inches. So an extra foot on top of your height. Pretty simple. Lots of advantages to being able to be explosive and to broad jump your height. Okay, number 9 is a core test. It's a core endurance test. It's a very simple test. It's a plank hold. Most of, not all of you know what a plank is. What you're going to do, it's not like a test of like how, your six pack, for example. It's about like spine stability and core endurance. Okay. If you haven't heard of Stu McGill, he's one of the foremost experts when it comes to, spine is like lower back, especially. Mechanics. He's got plenty of books, and there's lots and lots of protocols that have been patented and invented and copied. He's lots of research out there. So Stu McGill's research shows that core endurance is more predictive of back injuries than core strength, actually. So your endurance is really important. So if you can't hold a plank, you're leaving, like, your lumbar spine is very weak. Your lumbar spine is vulnerable, and you're going to get a back injury. So the standard would be a 1 minute front plank. So toes on the floor, okay. Elbows on the floor, fully engaged, nose to toes. So we're talking, you can't have like these saggy hips or this tented up low back. You got to be able to squeeze your quads and glutes, right, and be able to press your elbows into the floor so your back is engaged. A weaponized standard would be 3 minutes. Okay, should be pretty friggin' easy. This is one of the easiest standards in here. Okay, 1 minute front plank hold is the standard. A weaponized standard would be 3 minutes. All right, number 10. Number 10 is one that a lot of you may not have heard of. It's called a Sorensen hold. So a Sorensen hold, what you would need is you would need to be able to lock your hips in place. It's kind of like doing a Superman with your like feet and lower body locked in, right? So you're going to get something called a glute ham raise machine. You don't want to use a Roman chair at 45 degrees. That'd be too easy. You want to get something that locks you in parallel to the floor. Okay, so you have to be able to hold your torso, okay, parallel to the floor. This is like a gold standard for posterior chain endurance, especially for the lumbar spine and glutes. So if you want to be a very safe deadlifter, you want to make sure you're hitting these standards. I think a lot of trainers should be able to do these with their clients before they ever have them touch, a barbell, pulling it from the floor. So people that fail this test are at significantly higher risk for back pain. So your spine's endurance under load determines whether you thrive or survive, right? When you're doing things like gardening, golfing, anything where you're doing repetitive bending lifting. Okay, so you should be able to do a Sorensen hold at standard 90 seconds. All right. If you want to hit the weaponized standard, it's 3 minutes. So it's a bit of a grind. So this is a cool test. Most people don't know how they would fare for this one. It's a really, it's a great test. And I challenge you to test this one out. Number 11, a lot of you have listened to longevity experts talk about the importance of grip strength and how it is directly correlated to longevity, which is true. I didn't include a dead hang in here because the dead hang is a kind of silly, I think. It's not really great across all populations, depending on your body weight and your gender, etc. So I like the farmer's carry because I can use the body weight standard. It is a significant grip strength test, but it's also trains more than just your grip, your core, your traps, glutes, legs. My standard is you should be able to carry your body weight. So between two hands. So if you're a 200-pound person, you should be able to carry two 100-pound dumbbells for 100 feet. Okay, so 100 feet. Weaponized standard, you should be able to carry your body weight, well, 1.5 times your body weight for 200 feet. So, if you're a 200-pound person, so that means you're carrying 150 pounds in both hands and carrying that for 200 feet. So it's a pretty significantly harder test at the weaponized standard. So you can also use a trap bar, for example. You may want to try it with a trap bar. It's really hard to find super heavy dumbbells and be able to walk them around like that. So it's a full body tension in motion. So it's, again, the grip strength alone is a mortality predictor, according to journals like the Lancet. If you can carry your body weight, you're functionally useful. Okay, if you carry 1.5 times your body weight for distance, like you are a fully weaponized ape. So, all right, here's my last test, and I hate this test. This is the one that scares me the most, because I'm a really, really shitty bench presser. It's been a weakness of mine. I have really long limbs. I'm a very long-limbed person. I've got really long arms, which is why my arms look small. So the bar has to travel a long way, which is why like pulling off the floor is really strong for me. Okay, because I got these ape arms. I don't have to pull the bar quite as far as someone with short arms, but short arm people are much better at benching than I am. So the bench press standard I included here, again, it's not just like measuring your chest strength, so to speak. Like I love the bench press actually. A lot of it's a little controversial, right? So it's a measure of pushing strength, but shoulder health as well, upper body muscular endurance. When you're talking about not just like a one rep here, we're talking using your body weight. And my standard for body weight for body weight bench pressing is to be able to do it between 5 to 10 reps. So max out your body weight reps. So if you're a 200-pound person, throw 200 pounds on the barbell and rep it out. Okay. We're talking full extension at the top, barbell to the chest, and full extension at the top. That's 1 rep. All right. None of this, like, again, half or 3/4 rep baloney. Okay. I get it. There's some benefit to hypertrophy if you're keeping tension on the muscle. That's not the purpose of this test. We're testing overall endurance and functionality. So 5 to 10 reps of body weight. For some of you, this is a joke. Okay. If you're a good bench presser. So the weaponized standard is, 10 plus reps, between 10 to 15 reps at least. It's sort of like the pull-up test. Ideally you're able to do that. I think I can hit that. We'll see. So there's actually some nice studies like medicine and science, sports, exercise. They showed the bench press strength improved metabolic health, musculoskeletal resilience in men over 40. Like if you can rep your body weight, you're thriving. So that's pretty good. So we have a pretty good blend of upper and lower body strength, endurance, coordination, balance tests here. So those are my 12. Those are my 12 weaponized body standards for men over 40. I am going to do this combine, so to speak, this week. I'm going to post it online, expose myself. I'm hoping that I meet all the weaponized standards. That's my target. Some of them are pretty challenging. But listen, if you are struggling to even meet the standard with any of these, this is a good indicator that there's ways you need to start tailoring and switching up your fitness practices. So for example, like some of you might be strong as hell, but the sit to stand test, you fail miserably because your mobility is horrific. One thing that's abundantly clear to me is that the better your mobility is, the better your technique is. The better your technique is, the better your muscle and motor recruitment patterns are, and you're going to be able to build much better fitness. You're going to see results, right? If you're changing up, like if you're improving your range of motion, if you're improving your neuromuscular recruitment patterns, if you're able to move more efficiently and better and more pain-free, it's about like injury risk reduction. It's about longevity. It's about health. So, these things are designed so it's like as comprehensive as I could make, a test as far as testing like all dynamics of fitness and health in a reasonable fashion. So, like, to me, fitness over 40 is not optional, like, it's mandatory. Go see somebody who's like in their 50s and 60s who doesn't work out, who's just like a soft jello pudding, just a fucking mess of a person. They can't do anything. Like, they're useless. Motor morons, you know, can't can barely like um participate in any sort of like fitness endeavor, nor any sort of like play or sport or anything physical for that matter. So yeah, don't be that guy. And it doesn't mean you have to be like athletic. It doesn't mean you have to be great at a sport. It just means like you put in the effort in order to have the physiology, like to meet the requirements of our genetic, design and desire to express optimal metabolic health when we're challenging our fitness, right? When we're challenging our aerobic health, our strength, our flexibility, our coordination, our balance, our endurance, our speed, our power. Like, there's all these different dynamics that this God given potential that's there. And how sad is it that so many men don't ever get to see this potential at work, and how much that like physical challenge lends itself to just so much like satisfaction and joy in life, right? In other areas. And I tell you what, if you're like a fit motherfucker after 40, your wife is going to be more physically attracted to you. Like, this whole discussion about dad bods and, sloppy dads being more attractive, or like somehow that's a badge of honor, like, that is total horseshit. You're telling me that your wife or your girlfriend or significant other isn't going to be more attracted to you if you're more fit and healthy? Like, what's the saying? Like, don't piss in my ear and tell me it's raining. That's just, I can't understand that. So listen, put in the work. Okay, try these standards. Give these a go. Okay, let it expose you. Let it show you where you might be leaving money on the table. So they're not just about like looking good, or about being like, alpha dad on the block or whatever. Like, these are about staying mobile, capable, hard to kill, like confident, good examples for your children, all that, man. So the truth is simple. You don't rise to your goals. Okay. You fall to your standards. So I'm here to help you set your standards higher, make them weaponized. If you got like, watch for my video, I'm going to be posting me doing this combine, my weaponized combine, to show you that I try to lead by example, and lead the way with these weaponized standards. So thank you as always for listening. I appreciate all of your feedback, your comments. Please like, share, uh, and rate, review. And as always, stay weaponized. I'll talk to you guys next week.